So tonight I thought I'd do things a little bit different, sort of more one-on-one than I normally do, not overlaying all the music and doing all the editing and cuts. I tend to drone on, so I'm not a big fan of it for my personal videos, so I'm going to do my best to try and keep y'all from falling asleep, so bear with me. My plan tonight is to load up some 300 Blackout. I'm going to do a variety to run through that new 9-inch barrel I got for Christmas. I've got some 147 grain M80, the ball projectile, some 220 grain Sierra Match Kings, and I've also got NOE 247 grain flat nose, a couple different powder coats on them. The main reason I want to test the 220 Sierra Match King is with the 7.5-inch barrel that this 9-inch barrel is replacing, it wasn't stabilizing them. I was shooting maybe 10 yards and they were honestly hitting sideways in the paper. You know, this is what you saw in the target. You didn't see a round hole. You saw the total sideways silhouette of the bullet. So I'm going to see if this barrel takes care of that issue. So I've done a couple of things in preparation. I've already got my primers loaded up, and I've filled my powder measure with Winchester 296, which is what I'm going to use to load the 147 grain M80s. I'm going to start with those. So you'll notice the only thing I have in my press is my powder measure and my bullet seating die. And that's because all the brass I'm using to do these loads I made myself. I took Lake City 556 blanks. I chopped them with the Harbor Freight mini chop saw and a jig. I ran them through the size die, trimmed them, chamfered, deburred them. Every single piece of brass that I made in that fashion, while I was making them, I ran them through my case gauge. So I know for a fact that every piece of brass I'm about to use is ready to be loaded, ready to accept a bullet. I don't have to do any processing to it. And so with that, I'm going to take a minute and show you my little brass, my ready to be loaded brass storage system right here. Now, you all know 380, 9mm, things of that nature, 45 ACP. You don't have to do anything to them. They don't need to be trimmed. You pick them up, you clean them, and then you just start from stage one. You resize, you expand, you seat your bullet, and crimp if you need to. So all those, they don't have anything special, but if it is a special case where, such as 458 SOCOM, where it has to be sized ahead of time because it's hard to do on a progressive press, sizing such a large case, or if I'm loading cast bullets, SOCOM 300 Blackout, those case mouths have to be chamfered beforehand. So special cases like that, I plan to do all that processing before I ever put them in these little tubs I have. That brings me here to these 300 Blackout cases. You can see these are Talenti. It's a ice cream or gelato, if you will. I've held on to these over the years. I've eaten quite a few of them. And it just happened to work out great for this application. So what I'm going to do first off, just take these cases. I'm going to prime them. So I'm going to load 10 of the M80s, 10 of the Match Kings, and I've already got 3 of the NOE cast bullets from a long time ago that I already had loaded up. So I only have to prime 27 pieces of brass. Okay, I'm pretty sure I've shown this before in one of my videos, but I've never really explained it. A few people are familiar with this method. It's how I weigh each individual charge while I'm loading. So I'll take my prime piece of brass, lay it on the scale, zero it out. Come to my press, drop my powder charge. I'm looking for 15 grains. I've got 15.04. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'll load up, I'll drop all my charges individually. I'll put them in a loading block. These are just a few test rounds, so I can take the time to do all this. It won't take too long. Like I said, I'm only loading 10 of each. And this way I can be sure, since I'm using these mostly for function testing and just the first few shots through this new barrel, it gives me a peace of mind knowing if something goes wrong, it's in fact with equipment rather than load, because I know all of my charges are within 0.1 of a grain. So now that we have all these cases charged with our 15 grains of Winchester 296, 10th one's already in the shell plate. Now I can start seating the bullets. I've put the bullet seating die in the very last station because I don't have to crimp them. So now my bullet seating die is already set because I was loading these just last night, so I don't have to adjust them. So we're going to just run this guy in. I like to seat these to 2.1 inches. That measured 2.11, which is still acceptable. These projectiles are very inconsistent. They're really just ammo can, SHTF, plinking bullets. 2.106. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, just give each round a quick plunk test. Make sure they're good. So now I'm going to switch over to the Match Kings. With those, I'm loading 11 grains of accurate 1680. Same charge I'll be using for the cast NOE bullets as well. Here's our last 17 cases primed, ready for powder. 11.02. Alright, that's about as good as it's going to get. So I've got my remaining 17 cases charged with 11 grains of accurate 1680. And since the last bullet I seated with this die was the 147 grain, and now I'm going to be seating the 220 grain, I've got to set this die. So to take some of the guesswork out of it, what I'll do is I'll make up a dummy cartridge seated to the correct length, no primer or anything. I'll stick it in one of these little Ziploc bags, and I'll put the information on it. This is 300 Blackout, 220 grains here at Match King, with an overall length of 2.20 inches. So what that'll let me do is get this set pretty close to where it needs to be without a lot of guesswork. So I run it all the way up and tighten my adjuster until it touches. And I'll take my first charged case, grab a bullet, run it in. Usually when you set your die with a dummy case in it, for reference, you have to go down a couple of thousandths. Okay, I'm going to leave that one be. Go ahead and seat another one. That first one was a few thousandths long, maybe 205. This one's 201. Perfect. So I'm not going to worry about them too much. Now I just realized I've made a mistake. So these cases are no problem, when you're using 30 caliber full metal jacket bullets, boat tail bullets especially. You don't have to flare your case mouths. But for the last 7 bullets that I have to load with my powder coated cast bullets, I need to flare those case mouths. And I already have powder in them. So let me do something about that. So not too big of a deal. Luckily, I still had my powder measure set, still had powder in it. I didn't finish what I was doing and take it out, thankfully. So all I had to do was go back, expand each. I dumped the powder out of them, expanded each of the case mouths, and now I'm just putting the powder back in them. This is part of the reason why I don't do a lot of talking while I'm loading. I mess up. So we've got cases with powder in them. We're ready for bullets. Again, I have one of my little dummy rounds here at the right overall length. Now we'll take our first case. Seed our first bullet. Just taking a peek at them as I seat these, making sure I'm not scraping the powder coating. Now, for the sake of time and not having to go back and fix even more screw-ups, I build these cases a little bit more than I normally do. I don't like to stress the mouth of my cases that much if I can avoid it. But this time, to keep from shaving any powder coating, I went ahead and gave them a little bit more than I normally do. The last thing left to do is crimp them. I don't really give it a heavy crimp with these rifle cast bullets. Come on. This is why I edit, because this is all the crap you guys don't see. Cameras won't focus. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Come on. Putting too much crimp on it, I'm just flattening that flare back out. Ironing it out, if you will. Refocus this thing. They don't chamber as easily as some do because of the thickness of the powder coating on the nose of the bullet. I know that these won't plunk all the way in like those Full Metal Jacket bullets do, but well, that one there actually went pretty good. So when you load these, especially into an AR powder coated, it's gonna jam the bullet into the lands, but that's just part of the territory. Maybe I'll have to pick up the new 225 grain full lead Taco 300 Blackout bullet. So we're ready to go to the range. Let's see if these 220 grain Sierra Match Kings tumble with the new barrel.